Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Beverly Hills Cop 3, starring Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, Hector Elizondo, Timothy Carhart, Stephen McHattie, John Saxon, Teresa Randall, Bronson Pinchot, I don't know if I said that right, please forgive me, Alan Young, and Al Green, and directed by John Landis. Now I must say, before I get into the actual movie itself, I have seen it before, but, well, before I get there, let me say, I forgot to put on the Aviator review that it might get loud, and if you've watched that show, then I'm sorry I forgot to put that also it may get loud thing, but you were warned about that show. So now it's back on this one because I forgot when I was until I typed it in for this show. But let's get into Beverly Hills Cop 3. I have seen this movie before, and do I remember liking it? We'll see. Let's get into it. In Detroit, Michigan, on a Tuesday in the middle of the night, Axel Foley, returned by Eddie Murphy, is undercover with the cops until Inspector Todd joins the undercover team to stop some mechanics and carjackers, as the movie's bad guy is trading some bombs to kill the mechanics, and the shots looked absolutely horrible, as this editing in this thing looked rather like awful cuts, as Axel busts in another shop, and these characters look absolutely fucking miserable as the bad guy gets away and Inspector Todd is shot dead, as Axel really should have called the SWAT team. And Todd says to Axel, "Go get that son of a bitch," as he dies in this movie. And is this making any sense? Not at all. Particularly since Axel goes after the bad guy and the car falls apart, including the passenger seat, which makes absolutely no fucking sense, as he loses control of the car, and the federal government steps in to stop Axel from catching the bad guys, which is such bad writing and a bullshit way to stop a cop from getting the criminal. Like, this is terrible writing to begin with. Todd's funeral is occurring, and Axel learns the bad guys are in Los Angeles in a theme called Wonderworld, as he visits Sergeant Billy Rosewood, returned by Judge Reinhold, but no Taggart this time around, which made me miss him this time, as he lives in Phoenix, retired, and meets John Flint, played by Hector Elizondo. And as he goes to Wonderworld, as he tries to visit Ellis DeWald, played by Timothy Carhart, with an appointment, but John forgot to call him to set up the appointment, as he buys a ticket going to the park and sneaks around and goes in the room called Alien Attack, which is a ride like at Wonderworld, as a lady named Janice, played by Teresa Randall, shows her how it works, and security is about to approach Axel while he goes on a ride called The Spider, and we get a cameo by George Lucas, aka the creator of the Star Wars series. And Axel gets stuck on a ride and saves a couple of kids on the ride while Axel is afraid of heights. And believe it or not, I am too, as I was scared for the kids more than Axel, as I know he'll be fine by the end of the movie, and this plot makes no damn sense. But eventually Axel gets them down, and they capture Axel to bring to Ellis, as they erase the evidence, which is stupid as hell, by the way. Billy and John get Axel out of the park, and they have a drink together, and learns Ellis is getting a security award, and the theme song sounds horrible, as Axel meets Uncle Dave with Janice, as he tells Axel his partner Roger went missing, and as he and Billy go in the party, and Serge from the first film, remember him from the art gallery scene, I'll say, is there, as we learn that the art gallery is bankrupt, and shows them the guns he invented, and he is the worst character in this movie, as he got more annoying than he was in the first film, as he had very little to do in this first film, and to be fair, I don't like any of the characters, but Serge was the worst in this movie. Hell, even Eddie Murphy is doing a poor job in this movie, and it shows in this movie, in my opinion. While Ellis gets his award and giving his speech, Axel disrupts the party and makes another speech for Ellis, punches him in the face, and disturbs the peace, and gets put in jail with Billy, and John gets them both out, and they go to the Santa Monica Pier, because John found the truck, and I'm now thinking this movie is a pile of shit. As I'm checked out of this movie, as this is not the original movie good. This is a typical. There shouldn't be a part 3 of this movie, and there should have not been a second movie to begin with. Axel gets information from Janice and how to get Ellis, and it's been closed for some time as this movie is getting preposterous, as Axel asks Janice out on a date, and I can't believe I've got another 45 minutes of this movie to go, this is the worst in the series. Axel sneaks around and finds proof that Ellis is a criminal, as he spots Axel sneaking around as he escapes, which leads to the backstage, and briefly dances and gets off the stage, as this is an embarrassing moment for Eddie Murphy's career, as this movie is an embarrassment. Security tries to find Axel, and he escapes by pulling out his gun and points it at the sky and puts his gun down, as there's kids everywhere, which is really fucking dangerous, as he tells Secret Service drug money is being printed while they were printing Wonderworld dollars, and they send Axel back to Detroit, which makes absolutely no fucking sense. Ellis says his security guards to make sure he does not get on the plane back to Detroit, and he escapes and calls Uncle Dave, and Ellis follows him and kills Uncle Dave, and Axel gets a gun after he was briefly knocked down, and goes in a car and gets Uncle Dave in the hospital, and he gets out before he becomes a suspect. And the theme is really overused in different drafts. Axel calls Janice to get her out of the park and gets Ellis on the phone instead, and Axel gets a weapon from Surge and comes back to Wonderworld, and Billy wants to follow as he wants to go on his own, and as he arrives, the guards capture Axel and use Janice as bait, and Axel has no choice but to give the keys to Ellis, but Billy comes in and we get an action scene, and what the fuck took so long? Because there was no action until the end of this movie, other than the beginning of the movie, I'll say. And Janice is free, and she and Billy are trapped, and they have a shootout, and they turn the rides and the music as we're on. The Wonderworld theme is getting on my last nerves. Axel sees Surge give him the wrong gun and tries to shoot it 3 times until it eventually shoots with the music on, which was so stupid. The movie is getting on my last nerve. Axel hides in a ride with nature while Billy and Janice eventually get out of the smoky room. Axel makes money that says "kiss my ass," which was the only funny thing about this movie. It's more like like it's clever, that kind of a thing. Billy gets shot twice and John is almost dead, but shoots the bad guy right back at him, and Ellis shoots Axel in the shoulder while in the dinosaur part of the ride, and Axel fights Ellis and gets shot in the leg and shoots Ellis dead, and the Secret Service came in and almost kills Axel, but he kills him instead, while John is also shot, and Billy is shot pretty fucking bad, but he's not dead, which was lucky, I'll say. And luckily, Uncle Dave is alive again and names a character after Axel called Axel Fox, which is kind of cute, but the climax is the worst. And whatever the filmmakers are doing, do not make a part 4, but reboot the damn thing instead, honestly. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.7 out of 10. This movie, it really got on my last nerve, as I don't like the characters and this plot makes no goddamn sense. I was checked out after an hour into this movie because the plot is so preposterous that it gave me a headache. This is perhaps the worst in the series by far, as there shouldn't have been a third one, and hell, there shouldn't have been a part 2 in the first place. Like, leave it alone after the first one. After I'm thinking, leave the fucking character alone. For the love of God, don't make a part 4, but reboot the damn thing for all I care. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this Beverly Hills Cop series. And until we ever get a reboot or part 4,